Hi, this is Rick. I'm talking to Bill Hubauer of most recently the Neil Morse band, but many other bands. How are you today, Bill?
I'm good, Rick. How are you?
Okay. And I understand there's a CD called Innocence and Danger out in
Well,
August.
yeah. Just at the end of the month, about 4 weeks from yesterday, I think, actually, yeah, or thereabouts.
Yeah. Now that's the third or fourth one you played on, I guess third.
It's the fourth. Well, it's the fifth that I
Right.
played on. It's the fourth Neil Morse band album. The When I joined the band, Neil was just finishing up Momentum, and I played a little bit on World Without End. I added some woodwinds and a little bit of keyboards and guitar. Uh, so we and then following that, then we had our first tour, which was the Momentum tour.
That's like the 30-minute song, isn't it?
Yeah,
Without
uh,
it. Yeah,
yeah,
one of many.
yeah, yeah. And that was coming up on 10 years ago. I
God,
can't hardly believe it. It was next spring. It'll be 10 years since I joined the band.
wow. Because I have the Baja Prague shirt on from
Oh yeah,
'94. Yeah.
right,
The only time I've ever been south of there. Of course, it's only 2 miles
yeah,
in, right? Doesn't really count.
right. Well, it counts. It counts when you're coming back out and you have a plane to catch that you don't, because getting across the border coming from Mexico is a lot slower, and I missed a flight last time
Uh,
we were down there.
oh my goodness. Yeah. Um, so you had to go right out on tour pretty much, right? When you joined the band?
Well, we had a couple shows. He had a few shows booked in the summer, so I joined in the spring, and then we had, I don't know, there was like a festival in Italy, and we had a couple things in like Cornerstone Festival, some festival stuff, um, and then there was a little bit of a lull, and then we went out with the Flower Kings and did a U.S. tour and a European tour.
Did they come back out and do transatlantic stuff and all that kind of?
Yes, exactly. That was like
Yeah.
the encore was a transatlantic set. Yeah, and the funny thing was, by the uh, throughout the tour, uh, um, people other people who weren't playing, because it was a combination of both bands.
Right.
Uh, Other people who weren't playing would start to play during that, and
Yeah.
by the end of the tour, we had like all 10 of us on stage playing the transatlantic thing by the at the end of the thing, and it was crazy. Both drum kits were going,
Yeah.
and it was really crazy.
You probably had like movie stars jump on there and didn't even know it or something.
There's some footage of it. Um yeah, it was a really fun, it was a really good first big tour to do, and I love the Flower Kings. They're one of my favorite bands,
Oh yeah.
and to tour with them and play with them was a real honor and a treat, and I just loved it.
Yeah, I got to know Hassa pretty well. He's a
Yeah,
great guy.
yeah,
We
he's
had
a
an
good guy. Yeah.
interview in Ross Fest and we had a bathtub full of beer and he had the whole band there as a musical companion band.
Oh yeah,
So
yeah, they're good.
they are.
Yeah, yeah. I like them a lot. I like, because it's more, well, it sounds evolving. The first couple albums were more, almost more just like AOR, which
Right.
I love, which I'm a huge fan of, melodic rock, power rock, and it's great. And they've been getting more progressive with each album.
That's true. Yeah. Is that the Momentum tour? Was the live Momentum from that or was that recorded later on?
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
that was from. Well, we did the U.S. leg with just, and now I'm remembering, we did the U.S. leg of the tour with just the Neil Morse band, and that's when we recorded the live Momentum. And then we did the European tour with the Flower Kings. That's how it went down.
Yeah, I love that live album. It's really good.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny. I saw Spock's Beard at 3RP and the Flower Kings were there and Neil
Yeah,
showed up. It was like he had been away for a long time,
yeah,
performing live. And so he was there and then, Roy came on and, it was like you said, it's just a big
mhm,
mismatch of everybody.
I was really kind of, I was just starting to tune in back into the prog rock scene right around that time. So I wasn't really aware enough. Um, and I didn't, that show was almost in my backyard,
Right.
and
Right.
I didn't even know about it. I kind of got out of, throughout the 90s. I just, I assumed all prog was dead and
Yeah.
nobody was making it. And people, it never went away. It's just that it just went underground. You didn't know about it until the internet started happening, and then the word kind of got out at that point. And even like I remember I listened to Delicious Agony radio back like probably the first year that it was, or two, when it was on the air,
Right.
or on the net, uh, and started discovering all this music that I didn't know existed.
Yeah, I stumbled on the Oral Moon. I was there for 7 years before. I guess I've been Delicious Agony for, gosh, another 10.
Yeah, yeah,
But
Laurel Moon too. Yeah, I was definitely into that. I checked all that stuff out back in the day.
yeah, and that's where I met Davin. And for all of a sudden, it was funny. I got on there because they had a forum. It was like, what's your favorite prog rock song? And I said, Green Eyed Lady by Sugarloaf. And the guy's like, well, that's not a prog. Well, I said, well, yeah, it was, not the radio version.
Yeah,
But it's
yeah,
funny. And then Nearfest came on and, you know, came about. But
yeah,
that 3RP was interesting because that's such a small place. It was that little Pepsi Roadhouse.
yeah, yeah.
And I didn't realize how small it was till I drove by it years later and, you know, and did that. I guess that was crazy trying to learn all the, well, I saw your video for Lifeline, um, for
Oh, like the audition
the
video.
audition. Did you put that up
Okay, yeah.
before you got the job or?
Well, so when Neil was, he wanted to have, he had like a US band and he had a European band, and he wanted a more compact uh group that would be the core group that he would always have with him. And at that point it was just, he was just thinking, just to back up his solo material. And
Right.
so he had, he was looking for people who could basically, do whatever, multi-instrumentalist and singing, and so that, five guys could pretty much do whatever he needed the group to do.
Sure.
And so I found out just by sheer luck that he was having open auditions, and so the instructions were to submit some videos on YouTube. So I made a bunch of, buddy of mine helped me film a bunch of audition stuff, and I uploaded it to YouTube. But I made it private initially,
Oh, okay.
and then I sent it to him. Um, and then there was a second round of in-person auditions. But afterwards, he asked if I would make the videos public, and I did. So they're still out there.
It's funny because I usually don't read the comments because that usually gets you in a rabbit hole. But somebody had said, "Good luck, Bill," and I'm thinking to myself, why would he put that up before the audition? It's kind of cheeky. But
Yeah,
if you
no, I
said you made
didn't.
it
I think,
private, yeah,
well, see what happened. What would happen is people. The thing weird about social media is that something will resurface. Somebody, all of a sudden, like 3 years later, somebody will stumble over something and repost it, and then I have, ancillary friends who maybe aren't into the prog rock thing, and they just are never aware of what I've been doing. So they saw the video as if it was happening right now, because for all they knew it was, because it was
right,
all of a sudden it was in their newsfeed. So then they would make comments like that. So
yeah,
I think that's what happens.
that's true. Yeah, I saw this really old. I think it was a band like Pilot or something like that. It only had a hit or two, and somebody
Mhm.
said, "Oh, my dad played drums on that." And then the guitarist came in and said, "No, he was gone by then." So people come in and try to
Yeah,
say they know what's going on.
yeah, yeah.
It's that's hilarious like that. Um, so you played how many Morse Fests have you played? a bunch like,
I don't know.
yeah,
One, two. Well, we did testimony in one,
right.
question mark and sola. That's two, and then we did um, similitude and testimony two, three, and then sola gratia for like. Well, I can think of four, but I feel like there should have been five, but I don't know.
Well,
I know.
what I wanted to ask you about that was, I mean, it's hard enough to write all this material and learn it, but a lot of that's Neil's stuff, right? So you had to,
Yeah, it's not that hard to put together, you know, because you're typically doing at a Morse Fest, you're typically learning about 6 hours worth of music
right.
for 2 nights, and you are, um, it's just like you're cramming for a test, and if you don't know them, if you've never played the material before, so you, so obviously if it's stuff that you have played before, it's a lot easier, and so a couple of those were really challenging. Um, uh, but at this point, I think I pretty much played his entire catalog,
Was that, wow.
and a lot of the Spock Beard stuff.
Yeah.
So there's not too much that we could throw in that I've never played. So we're planning for this Morse Fest coming up, and this is still a secret what we're going to do, but there's not that much I haven't played before, but there are a couple of fun surprises
That's a lot. I mean,
that I haven't played. Yeah.
so many, so many records he has out, and
Mhm.
just,
Yeah.
every
Here's
time you turn around.
I'll tell you a fun I'll tell you a fun little piece of trivia that nobody knows. Uh, so when we did Similitude of a Dream tour, we were ending the tour at Morse Fest, and we were going to play Similitude one night and then Testimony two the next night.
Wow.
And somebody had the great idea, oh, we'll just during sound check every day, we'll just rehearse the Testimony two stuff, and um, then when we get to Morse Fest, we'll be ready to go. But the problem for me was that leading up to the tour, I was prepping uh, the Similitude material for the tour,
Yeah.
and I really couldn't get to the Testimony 2 stuff. So the whole tour, I'm trying to cram this Testimony 2 material, and I just couldn't get enough time in for personal rehearsal, because by the time the stage was set up and I could rehearse, then the whole band wanted to come out and rehearse together. And so so it was really, that playing the Testimony 2 stuff was really hard. I just didn't have it. I just had to like concentrate so hard to get through it. And if you watch the DVD, you know, I don't look happy. I'm not very joyous looking for most of that set, because I'm just like barely remembering this stuff, and it's just, you know, you want to have it in your hands, in your
Yeah.
muscle memory, so that it's fun to play. And I just wasn't having a good time because I just barely knew the material.
And you're
So
the
that was,
highest up on stage, right? So,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
you know,
So that was a mistake, but that was the only one out of all of them that I had trouble with. And it was just it sounded like a good idea to do it that way, but it wasn't.
well, I guess you were more familiar with the Similitude stuff, being,
Oh, sure. Yeah, yeah,
writing on it and everything.
yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
think that's the one you did at Rites of Spring Festival that year, the entire Similitude. I think that was it. It
Yeah,
was
well, we did. I don't know if we did. We do the whole. We got a late start because it's a festival.
right.
I don't think we played the whole thing,
No,
and
well, it was exhausting. I know that.
people were tired. People were tired. I mean, there's,
Yeah.
God bless them, but there's people following us. They weren't, and a lot of people weren't there to see us. We just happened to be the last band, and they may not have known the material, and they're tired. And look out, and you see people falling asleep.
Well, I fell asleep one time standing up during Steve Hackett guitar solo at a club
Mm,
one time, but that's just me.
yeah,
But
yeah.
yeah, like it was all one continuous, I thought too, right? I mean, it was,
Yeah,
Start
yeah,
with
we only
Big.
had like in, the full show, and again, I don't think we did the full show,
No, I
but
don't
we
think
might
so.
have.
Yeah.
But the full show is two sets, disc one, disc two, and we only had one. I think we only had one talking spot in each set
Right.
because all the songs all just ran together. Um, and the Great Adventure was the same way. We only, we just had, you know, just the one talking spot. So obviously with, with Innocence and Danger, we're very deliberate to to do something much different than that type of experience.
Yeah, there's still
And
the
it
really long song on there, right? On the
was
new one.
two, well, there's a 20-minute and a 30-minute on disc two,
Yeah.
but the disc one is all shorter songs. Well, relatively short, we consider like an 8-minute song short,
Yeah, exactly. But it's not all connected together
right.
like the other
Yeah,
ones.
no,
Is
no.
I wanted to ask you, is Bridge Over Troubled Water, is that the cover or is that just
Yeah,
the okay,
that's a cover. Yeah.
okay. Now who's singing on that one?
We all, Neil and I and Eric all
Yeah.
sang on it. Well, I mean, Mike sings two backups, but the lead parts, or we split up. There's three verses, so we split up the verses.
Oh, okay. Um, in bands that have three really excellent lead singers, I mean, you three seem to have the same kind of range though, don't you? I guess.
Um, well, maybe at one point Neil sings a lot. I think Neil can sing higher than he says he can. He always says he
Right.
can't hit the notes because he doesn't want to have to do it live.
Exactly.
But I think at one point Neil and my range have been very similar.
Right.
But he's tend to favor the lower parts. But he's singing really high on the new album in a couple places. And I was shocked that he went for it and did it and
Yeah.
didn't say ask somebody else to sing it. So it's
That-
great. It sounds really good.
yeah.
Uh,
And Eric, every time I hear him, really impresses
yeah.
me.
If you need it, if you need it to be high and pure sounding,
Right.
then that's Eric. If you need it
Okay.
to be high and kind of like
Heavy metal.
not heavy metal, no, I don't even know how to describe my voice. It would like I mean, frankly, strained, like,
Okay.
but hopefully in a good way most of the time. Sometimes because that when you have to strain to hit it, it adds a tension and emotion, especially on the harmonies. It's kind of like, I always think of like Styx. So
Yeah.
they always did this 3-part harmonies, and like James Young had this weird kind of like voice that was just kind of was a little bit strange sounding,
He
but
could
yet
get high
somehow,
too.
yeah,
Yeah.
when
Especially
they
on the
would do,
really early stuff.
yeah,
Yeah.
but when they would do the harmonies, his voice would somehow blend in with this sort of like upper harmonics that just made it sound so big. And I think
Yeah.
that's sort of my role in the harmony singing that we do, is sort of to do that, to provide that texture. Now, if you want like sort of like the classic rock gruff voices, I think Neil's probably the best guy for those, but he tends to favor the lower parts, like I said.
Yeah. I was thinking of advanced sticks actually when I was thinking about the 3-part harmony. Because
That was, yeah, that was I mean, that's what I was thinking of too. When we first decided to write together for The Great Adventure, um, one of the first things we worked on was what became The Call. And I had the chorus idea, and I just wanted to see what would it sound like if we just because we really didn't know what our voices really sounded like together blending
right.
and we actually have, I think, on the making of there's of that album, there's some video footage of us singing it for the first time, and we were all three were like, oh, holy cow, okay,
Yeah.
that's gonna work, you know and that's sort of become the foundation, like, okay, well, if you can do that, those kind of harmonies, then do them.
Yeah.
So we just
I
We
guess
just do it
Neil
as much
really
as we
didn't
can.
have a idea about, your vocals or your range until you really got there, I guess. About
No,
how
and
it blended in.
ne- neither did Eric or myself too. I mean, I know he
Right.
feels the same way. He's singing so much higher than he thought he could sing, and I am too.
Yeah.
Um, we just never had a reason to try to do those kinds of things. And
Yeah.
um,
And I hate to use the word improved because I can't sing myself, but Mike has really gotten, more blended in and better as he's gone along, with the
oh yeah,
stuff he
definitely, yeah,
does with this
sure,
and
sure,
transatlantic and stuff.
yeah, yeah, definitely. And it's such a he's really strong on stage with the background vocals too. And I don't know how you find your pitches if you're not an instrumentalist. Somehow he just knows.
Right.
He just knows. He hears it and he just knows what pitch to go to. The first the first half of the tour, eventually I don't have to think about it, but early in the tour, I'm and I think Eric does the same thing. You cheat in a starting note with whatever you're playing. Like if I'm playing a chord, I know I'm going to start on a G, so I'll voice the chords leading up to my entrance so that I hit a G in there somewhere to
Right.
get that pitch in my head, and then and then I'm in. And I just don't know how I just don't know how you do it. But eventually, I sort of remember. I call it pitch memory. You start to remember the pitch, and I don't have to do those cheats anymore. But somehow Mike, he just knows.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, so I know it's different for each album, but how is the writing? I mean, with a band like this, I'm always fascinated by the writing process in bands. A lot of people write all the music for all the parts.
Mhm.
Sometimes they let the others have, I'm not sure whether you bring in individual ideas or how you start with a concept. Well, I guess we could start with this album, how this
So
was.
this album was um, once you're in the room together. I think it's for us. I think it's been the same on every album how we've done it, but it's sort of what happens leading up to us getting together and any preparation that people do. Uh, you either bring in an idea or you don't. You have to have. It really helps to have some starter ideas, and but you so it's some combination of hey, I got this really cool thing. I think it sounds like an introduction to a song, and maybe I have a verse idea, and you kind of work on that, and somebody gets an idea for what could happen next, or somebody says, "Oh wait, well, what I'm more likely to do is I I say, hold on a second, and I'll pull out my phone and I'll go through my library of like ideas just because I remembered one that I thought would work,
Right.
coming up next, uh, and then once you have a bunch of once you have a bunch of ideas strung together, then there's sort of the arrangement process, and this is where actually Mike is a huge part. He will go through and sort of glean. He has such a natural sense of arrangement and flow of the song. He's like, no, 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 don't do this part here, do this other part, and then come back to this over here, and that'll give it a better, you know, structure or something. That's just something he's really good at. But for this album, Neil did not bring anything in at all. It was like zero. He just showed up, and knowing that he wasn't going to bring in anything, I was very deliberate about bringing enough ideas in. And I had a real, what I would do is I found that when I sit down for the first time any given day to try to create some ideas, pretty much whatever happens like the first 15 minutes is as good as it's going to be for that day.
Yeah.
So I'll just get I'll get whatever I first stumble onto. I work on that for a while, and then I would make a little like voice memo on my phone to remember it, and then that's pretty much it. Uh, if I keep trying to like go and go, I don't seem to ever get anywhere. So I'll just every day for like 3 weeks leading up to our recording session, I would just get up and I would just go on my keyboard and I would just play for like 15, 15 to 30 minutes and just record some ideas, and that was it. And that's what I brought in,
Yeah.
was all that stuff.
when did you start doing this? Because I guess we've been almost 30 minutes in and we haven't mentioned the pandemic yet, which is good. But I guess this was a lot different because of it.
When did we do it? In January this year.
Okay,
Um, yeah, we were supposed to do it. In my mind, I don't. In my mind, we were supposed to do this album last spring,
right.
and then we got canceled. And then Neil ended up doing his solo album, Sola Gratia, instead. Um, so then we got back together. I think it was, I want to say January. Yeah, it was right after New Year's, I think. So
That's
yeah.
really quick for not, not having anything in, as a framework, to get an album out. Of course, it
No,
might not be for you
it
guys.
could be out it could be out a lot faster if we didn't have to do vinyl.
Oh, okay. Well, that's
Um,
big now, right? You got
yeah,
it.
yeah. No, I mean, because we're only together for like 10 days.
Yeah.
And at the end of the 10 days, normally we have everything written, and we typically have the final drums for everything, along with all of our reference tracks that we made up in the room, all of our parts that we made up.
Yeah.
And everybody takes those home, and you sift through what you played and what other people played, and you start to come up with what you think your final parts should be.
Yeah.
And because we're all working independently, there's a lot of duplication of effort, and there's just no way around it. I don't, I might get an idea based on something that Neil did, and so I work on my idea to fit with that, and then without knowing what I'm going to do, he comes up with a different idea.
Yeah.
Based on what I did in the room, and then we put them together, and it's like, well, these don't really work together. Okay, so we have to sort it out and redo the parts.
Saves an idea for another song.
Yeah, yeah. So, yeah. What? And we've done that too. But so that process at home, I think maybe takes a month or so, and then it takes another month or so to get the mixes done. So the whole thing maybe takes 3.5 months or something like that. I don't know, but
Yeah, I mean, that takes 5 strong-willed people to do that sort
yeah,
of thing.
yeah. But it takes you can print CDs very quickly, and obviously if for any digital downloads, those are instantaneous. But everybody wants to do vinyl now, and so the vinyl industry doesn't have the capacity that they used to have.
Right.
And so it takes several months to get the vinyl made, and it's such an important part of the the product packaging is to have the vinyl, because especially in our market, in our genre, people are collectors and audiophiles, and it's just because we all grew up, those of us that like this kind of music, most of us who grew up with our album covers,
Right.
you'd put the record on, and you would sit and look at the album cover and hope if it opened up, and you would read all the liner notes and all the lyrics, and that's not the world that exists today. But
Yeah, we can still remember that, like who does what on
yeah,
what song, and
yeah,
that was the
yeah,
bonus. I mean, usually at the end it's who does what, but if it's each song, then you're like, yeah, this is fine. I can really
yeah,
get into this.
yeah.
I just threw my record player out two years ago, so I still don't have one. I gotta.
Oh gosh, I just got a new one 2 years ago.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I got it. How do you? I don't know if
Yeah,
it's retro or whether it's in the future. I gotta go.
yeah. It's fun. It's a lot of it's fun. You just say, okay, we're going to listen to records tonight, and you just pull up, just pull out a stack out of my bins that I have all my records in, and you just listen to some records.
Do you still have
And
to
that's
squirt the stuff on the brush, or is that obsolete now?
well, you still should clean them, but I don't.
The old disc washer, I guess it was.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's hilarious. Um, well, I guess I got to ask. Have you? It looks like you've lined up shows, but are
Hmm.
they? What kind of venues? I guess it depends on where you're at or how it's going to
Well,
work.
it's a lot of the venues. So okay, here's the thing. Every band in the entire world is trying to book tours
Yeah.
in the fall and spring,
Yeah.
right? Like literally every single band.
Yeah.
Uh, so when you're planning a tour, you're trying to string together, especially if you're doing do a bus tour, you know, you're looking, it's a very complicated process of finding venues in cities and markets where you want to go, and that are drivable in one day. You can get here, you can get to the next one.
Yeah.
And uh, we just really had a hard time. We just couldn't really put together the kind of tour we wanted to for the US for sure. We just couldn't get the dates.
Well, there's
So
also
we're,
the ones that have been rescheduled twice already.
yeah, sure,
That are
right, yeah. Yeah. In addition to, yeah, you're competing with all the rescheduled shows as well.
right.
Um, so we're only playing one show west of Chicago, um, and then in Seattle, and then we're doing a bus tour from Chicago up over along the East Coast a little bit. So it's a pretty short U.S. tour, um, and then the European tour is more like what we would typically do, but uh, um, we couldn't get the dates until like next May and June.
Yeah.
So we're not doing the European tour till almost a year later. So
You got to do what you got to do. I mean, hopefully
yeah,
it'll work out. I guess you'll be doing most of the new record on the tours.
yeah, I think.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, probably. Well, see, I don't know the tour set list yet. Let me, while I'm talking to you, I'm going to grab my power adapter from my computer because it's going to go dead.
Sure.
Um, but um, we usually do, but we technically don't have to because we don't have to run all these songs together like we do on the last two albums. But I
Yeah.
think we'll probably play it all.
Will you
Um,
will you pick like parts of the similitude or something?
the greatest hits,
Yeah.
similitude's the greatest hits.
Gotcha.
Oh,
Yeah. I mean,
that's
you'd have
certainly,
to do two and three at a time, I guess, huh?
yeah. Well, I mean, there are some that lend themselves to sort of like singles, like Ways of a Fool or City of Destruction or So Far Gone or stuff like that. But
Yeah.
uh, so I think that's certainly a high possibility that we would do that.
Is that do you all have input on that, or is that Neil's show, or
It's really Mike's.
is it?
Um,
Yeah.
we might make. He does the first draft, and we may or may not make suggestions. Again, that's sort of his thing. It's the arrangement. He likes to sequence the tracks on the album. He's really good at it. He
Yeah.
likes to pick and sequence the songs for the show because he really has a sense of like he approaches it like a fan. Like what would if I was really into this, what would I like,
Right.
to hear? What would I like? So
That is funny because Jethro Tull's my favorite band, but just once I want to go up to Ian Anderson and say, "Can you pull Budapest out of there?" It's like right in the middle of the show, he puts this 12-minute song in there, and he just
mhm,
drags and drags and drags.
yeah,
But that's really good. He has a sense of that. That's a good thing to have. Like a compiler and a
yeah,
arranger.
yeah.
Yeah. So what about the new album? Do you want to say? Are there any individual tracks or anything or that stand out, or any of them
Well,
yours? Like,
yeah, a lot. I mean, so you know, like I said, we did write a lot in the room, and some of my favorite things on the album are things that happened spontaneously in the room together as we worked. Uh, but it was mostly um, pretty much me, Randy, and Eric brought ideas in. I probably had the most um, because I started, like I said, I was very deliberate about compiling new ideas every day leading up
right.
to the sessions. Um, the irony is I did not want to do any epics. I wanted to do, really short concise prog songs, like, you know, your Gentle Giant kind of songs where they're actually pretty short, but there's a lot going on in there, right? You know,
I
uh,
can't think of a more than
you know,
8-minute Gentle Giant song,
yeah,
actually.
yeah.
Now that I
Or
think about it.
Even Kansas had, like, you know, a lot of really cool short songs. Um, and so that was sort of my mindset. And while I did bring in a lot of ideas for short songs, the irony is I brought in what turned into the long epic. I brought in about I brought in about 17 minutes of an epic that I
Yeah,
brought in that we actually expanded out. Uh, it was, you know, you just can't control whatever, you know, the song just wants to be whatever it wants to be, you know. So that's what I started writing, and one thing led to another, and that's what
that sounds promising,
uh,
actually, because a lot of the Neil stuff has the theme coming back and back and back. And it sounds like when you came in with the 17 minutes, probably sort of can, I don't think it, I don't know. Does it reference back to, in the song?
well, um uh you know, you can't have 30 minutes of nothing repeating, right? I
Right.
mean, you have to,
Unless you're Frank Zappa or something like that.
you know,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, we've done it. It actually almost turned into I mean, it just in the past, it's almost been a competition. Okay, who can be the most creative in way of reintroducing the same theme over and over again, like 20 different ways, you
Right.
know? Uh, and so there are, you know, reoccurring themes throughout the 30 minutes, and uh, um, I don't think they were overdone, but I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm not I'm not going to hear it the same way somebody else does. Um, but I'll just say, you know, I think everybody wants to like their newest album the best.
Yeah.
Uh, the only thing I will say is that when you finish working on when you completely finish, it's all done. Um, there's only a certain amount you can initially listen to it for any kind of enjoyment.
Yeah, absolutely.
Uh, and I can say that I've listened to Innocence and Danger way more since we finished it for enjoyment than any of the preceding three. Uh, I'm not going to say it's a better album. I'm just saying I enjoyed listening to it for enjoyment more after it was done than the other ones.
That's rare because a lot of people want to step away from it for a while.
Yeah, yeah. But I can kind of explain, because we were really scrambling to get the last parts in for the deadline for the vinyl, and Eric was busy working on he was I think he was working on it was a TV show that he was scoring
Oh, okay.
for that Texas 6. There's like this football show on CBS, on CBS All Access. I think that's what he was working on, but he was, so his parts came in right at the very end, and so I didn't really get to live with his parts. And when I heard it all done and I heard his parts, I was hearing a lot of his parts kind of for the first time.
Yeah.
And and I just loved it. I just loved the way it sounded. And so frankly, a lot of my re-listening to the album since we finished it was for Eric's parts.
Yeah.
Because it's like, wow, he's so good and his voice sounds great, and I just really enjoyed listening to it.
Um, Before I forget, I looked on the website. I had lost track of the We Came from Space. I have the first one. And then you have an EP. Is that new?
Now, a lot of people think our second one is our first one. So
Right.
we
What?
have,
I have the one that just says We Came from Space.
it's like
Or that.
how to be human
How to Be
was the
Human.
first one.
Right, right.
Okay, okay. Oh wow. So half the band was replaced for a second one called While You Were Away. It came out like in, I want to say 2018.
Okay.
Um, And that was one that really got a lot more notice. People really seemed to
Ever.
like that one. So if you look for while you were away, um, and then we put out an EP during the pandemic with 3 songs, um, and we're working to finish the next full length album right now.
Okay.
So no announcements yet, but we're trying to get that wrapped up.
Yeah. Are they local guys or it's just they're
Yeah,
all
yeah. They're actually guys. Well, except for the drummer, they're guys that I went to high school with, and so that
yeah,
was sort of the inspiration for the band was to let's try to do the kind of music that we were, you know, like me and the guitar player Dave Bizard. We used to hang out at each other's houses when we were in high school and listen to records,
yeah,
and so we were thinking, well, what? Let's make an album that would have been kind of like what we would have enjoyed listening to together at that age.
sure.
So it was very much a late '70s AOR kind of vibe to it, because that's the kind of stuff we were into at the time.
Yeah.
But you also have these other weird influences like um, like Joe Jackson. We were both really into Joe Jackson.
Yeah.
So little
One of my
little
favorites.
punkish,
Yeah.
little bit of punkish, but with this kind of classy chord progressions and stuff. And so we would do kind of weird genre bending things like that.
Yeah. I got his Cure for Gravity book, and Big World is one of my favorite records. And
Oh,
I just love the guy.
oh
Yeah.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
it was great back then listening to like American Top 40. I mean, you could hear like Roberta Flack, and then you'd hear Elton, and then you'd hear something like
Yeah,
Led Zeppelin or something. It wasn't
yeah.
like it is
Oh,
now where everything's all
yeah.
pigeonholed into one
So
thing.
it's homogenized. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, Lost my train of thought for a bit. So how did you deal like everybody did? I guess you didn't play out the last year or two. Did I guess
Well,
you kept yourself busy or
um, so for the pandemic year, uh, I work. I'm very much a part-time musician. I'm actually a software engineer for Adobe,
right?
and
Davin tells me
yeah.
you're a whiz.
Oh, well, I don't know. I hope a little bit at least. I've been doing it for long enough.
Yeah,
But um, I I work from home doing that. I've always worked from home
yeah,
doing that. So my day-to-day life didn't really change throughout all of that, and we weren't planning to tour last year anyway.
okay,
So um, the biggest problem was is we didn't get together. The biggest effect on my musical life was we didn't get together to work on the new album last year.
sure.
And so, um,
And your other projects, you don't play out
we don't
anyway.
gig. No, we
Yeah.
went to, like, we came from space. We went to gig. I think we have a cool thing to offer. And when we get together and jam when we're writing, some magical stuff happens that we think would happen live. Like I think if we play live, our thing is going to be like more almost like prog jam band kind of thing. I think
Right.
there's a lot of magic stuff that has the potential of happening in a live performance, and I think that's what we'd probably focus on.
I'll bring the ladies in.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. That's why we do it.
Yeah, that's actually getting a little bit different now. There are a lot of women in
Well,
the
well, the funny
progression.
thing is, well, and we saw, like, when we were touring Similitude, we saw a dramatic increase in the number of women at the shows, and it was very noticeable. And so we thought, wow, all you got to do to get the ladies to come out is do a double concept album on 16th century literature,
Right.
16th century allegory literature. Yeah, I mean that's what's going to bring them out, right?
That's right. Well, you got to find the right spot, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is it on Neil's label? Is it Radiant?
This is Inside Out. We're in
Inside
Inside
Out.
Out.
Inside Out. That's
Yeah.
right.
Mhm.
And it's out on the 27th, I guess. is the new one,
Yeah, August 27th.
August
Yeah.
27th. And that's good because looking forward to hearing that. There's so much music that crosses out. It's, crosses our paths. It's so hard
Oh, sure.
to,
Yeah.
to
It's
get
hard for
in
me to
there.
keep up. There's so much stuff out there. It is crazy
Yeah.
how much good music is out there. People say this, nobody makes good music, that are people that are unaware of
Yeah.
what we're aware of. And it's like, well, you're missing out because there's more than you can possibly consume.
I can't stand that. I mean, I love, we grew up in the 70s, love that stuff, but there's all kinds of stuff out that, and then they,
Oh,
you know,
really cool different stuff. And I'm not like a prog rock only guy. I mean, I like all
oh,
kinds of stuff. I just recently discovered, they've been around for a while, but this group, Dirty Loops. You familiar with Dirty Loops?
yes.
It's like pop. It's like pop kind of fusiony prog weird. It's just like it has this total pop sensibilities about the way the vocals are and the melodies, but it
Cool.
has these crazy jams, and it's so good. And I like there's this group, I love this band out of Sweden called Sonoride,
Okay.
Sonoride. They very much kind of almost have like an Americana, Beatley Americana, almost country sometimes
Yeah.
vibe about them. And it's just so good. And love them, love those guys. Melodies, and I'm all about it. I'm all about melodies. You give me
Yeah, me
some
too. Me too.
melodies and interesting chord changes that catch your ear. Like, ooh, that was different.
Yeah.
That's all you got to do, and I'm a fan.
Yeah, absolutely. And a little bit of passion, right?
Yeah, oh yeah, oh
Yeah.
yeah, sure. Of
Yeah.
course.
Um, what was the last thing? Oh, when are you playing your first show?
Morse Fest this year. So
Okay.
first weekend in October.
Okay, it's in October because that sometimes coincides with Prague Day, which so I thought it was a little earlier in the, in September, but
Yeah,
it's in
yeah, I'm not
October.
sure. Yeah, yeah. And I think we had I've lost track of what the capacity is because we started selling at a reduced capacity like we did last year. But I think we've opened it up and sold more tickets now, but I don't know if we're sold out based on the capacity that we're allowed or not. You have
And
to
this
check
is
the
in
websites,
Nashville,
but
right?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It's going to be cool. Because we're doing the 2 nights are a night of innocence and a night of danger. And
Okay.
the night of innocence is going to be more kind of the shorter songs, and there's a lot of interesting in addition to the new album, there's a lot of other back catalog stuff that we're pulling out. And then the second night's a night of danger, which is like epic city, and
Yeah.
we're really pulling out like the epics. So
I guess that has to be on Danger Night. That would be kind of
yeah,
weird if it was
danger,
Innocent. Yeah,
exactly, danger night. So it's going to be good.
that's fine. Was that Mike's idea too, or is that?
Yeah, that was his. Yeah,
Yeah.
the album, we actually had a different name for the album. And we didn't have any idea of like splitting it up into like shorter songs and epics. Um, and then the line or the phrase innocence and danger came from a scratch lyric that Neil had written for what became the song. One of the new songs is called The Way It Has to Be.
Okay.
And but that song was actually written during the Great Adventure sessions, and we didn't use it. But the innocence and danger was just a scratch throwaway lyric that he had done, and somebody heard, we were listening back, and somebody heard that and said, "Oh wait, that would be a good title for the album." And then from that, Mike got the idea of like, we'll do, disc 1 will be innocence and disc 2 will be danger, and so it was really cool. It was a good idea. I thought it was inspired.
Does it say that on the CD, or is that
It
just?
does.
Oh,
Disc
does it?
one
Okay.
says Disc 1 says innocence.
Yeah.
It's not disc 1 and disc 2. It's innocence and danger.
Okay. I like that.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
I was going to ask you. It
Oh,
looks
hold
like
on a second.
yeah, it looked like we
Oh, my
froze.
video froze. Hold on. Hold on
Yeah.
1 second. I'm using my phone for a webcam, and it's
Yeah. Oh, there we go. Well, I was going to ask you if there's anything else you wanted to say about the record or anything.
No,
Buy
just hope
it.
everybody enjoys it. Yeah, well, of course, do that.
Yeah.
Uh, I mean, I don't. I think there's not a lot of money in music sales these days compared to what it used to be. But
Yeah.
I think in our genre is good. Our genre's everybody, all the fans really enjoy supporting the artists and buying the music and so. But I just hope everyone loves it. I know it's been definitely one of my favorites for sure, and I think there's something in there for everybody. So if you
Yeah. I'm
if you
looking
don't like
forward to doing it.
if you're not into if you're not into the Innocence, then you're going to be into the Danger.
That's right. I mean, a lot of stuff out is 38
Yeah,
and 40 minutes long. I'm sure this
yeah.
is 110 or whatever it is, you know.
Both. I mean, I think both discs are around 50 minutes.
Okay. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
about right. Yeah.
So yeah.
Makes sense. Well, it's been a pleasure catching up again. I don't
Yeah.
know
Thanks,
when
Rick. I
I think
appreciate it.
I think I saw you at Rozfest last time, so that was
Yeah, it's been a while, but
5 years or whatever. Of
yeah, yeah. I'm
course, everything.
glad it was nice to see a familiar face when I connected in. Like I said, I wasn't sure who I was.
Oh, right. Exactly.
Rory didn't tell me who it was. He just said delicious agony. So
Oh, yeah. I don't think he knew either because
yeah.
he's funny because he's so busy, and it's like he's hooked me up with a couple of interviews before.
Mhm.
So hopefully, and I'm not sure if he really still knows who I am because he'll call me Rich, but
Yeah.
that doesn't
Right.
matter. A lot of people
Yeah.
do. But it was
All
a
right.
lot of fun talking to you, Bill.
Yeah. Likewise. Thanks, Rick.
Okay, thanks.
We'll see you. Bye.